Good morning. I'm pleased to be joined here today by the U.S. Forest Service Chief, Tom Schulz. Thank you for being with us. And also Montana DNRC Director, Amanda Kaster, for this historic announcement. An announcement we've been planning since the signing of our landmark Shared Stewardship Agreement last June on an issue where we've made a lot of progress since order and common sense were restored to the Forest Service when President Trump reclaimed the White House and appointed Secretary Brooke Rollins at USDA and Chief Schulz at the Forest Service. It wasn't that long ago that we were fighting tooth and nail with the Forest Service to simply make our forests healthy again. Without the support of Secretary Rollins and Chief Schulz, this historic progress would never have been possible. Chief, thank you for being here, and thank you for the partnership. Like I mentioned, last June, Chief Schulz and I signed Montana's Shared Stewardship Agreement. This was a first of its kind, 20-year commitment to increase the pace and scale of forest management. Today, we're building on that partnership and designating not one, but two priority landscapes under this agreement. We have maps over here. These landscapes cover more than 400,000 acres of federal land across northwest and southwest Montana. Lands of dense forests that have been neglected for too long. Under our agreement, we will complete landscape-scale forest management and restoration projects to reduce significant threat of wildfire posed to nearby communities. By coordinating our planning and resources, we're going to be able to get more work done on the ground. The reality is, we need more of these sorts of projects. Over 60% of our forests are at high risk of wildfire and disease. Keeping these landscapes healthy is critical to protecting our water supply, supporting our economy, and preserving our Montana way of life. The challenges we face are the same, whether or not the land is owned by the federal or state government, which is why we're working together and why that matters so much. Chief, thanks again for being here. Could you share a little more about this agreement and these projects?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Governor Gianforte, Director Kaster, partners and friends. It's truly an honor to be here in Montana to celebrate something that represents both vision and delivery. Having spent a good portion of my professional career here, it's great to be back home. Last June, we formalized a landmark shared stewardship agreement between the Forest Service and the Montana DNRC. Today, we celebrate the execution of that agreement and the selection of two priority landscapes where that commitment becomes operational. This is what shared stewardship is meant to do: align priorities and then align action. Since its inception in 2016, the Good Neighbor Authority program in Montana has demonstrated what is possible when the state and the Forest Service work as a team. Together, we have sold approximately 234 million board feet of timber from more than 40,000 acres of National Forest System lands just here in Montana. In fiscal year 25 alone, DNRC sold 71 million board feet, accounting for 26% of all Forest Service timber sales in Montana, which totaled about 264 million feet last year. This isn't just symbolic. This is a material contribution to the health of the forest, the communities in Montana, and ultimately the protection of the communities in and around that we care about. The Forest Service has already invested more than $20 million in the DNRC G&A program, and we will continue to reinvest program revenue to strengthen and expand this partnership. This is a model for collaboration and landscape-scale forest management. Now, with this new agreement extended through 2045, an additional $5 million investment, we are moving into the next phase, a 20-year commitment, long-term planning, long-term implementation, and long-term certainty. And as part of the Shared Stewardship Agreement, we've identified these two landscapes where DNRC will concentrate initial implementation capacity. So we have the Shared Kootenai Flathead landscape and the Bitterroot landscape. These are landscape scale commitments, which means that these places are where we are aligning planning, funding, staffing, and authorities for sustained restoration and timber production. This is how we move from projects to programs, The Forest Service has been talking about the impacts of the wildfire crisis for years. We're finally going to get action on the ground. These landscapes represent exactly what we're trying to achieve nationally: accelerated forest restoration, wildfire risk reduction at scale, expanded sustainable timber production, support for rural mills and communities, and healthier forests for future generations. The northern region has already demonstrated innovation through utility corridor work with state partners, leveraging timber sales to lower fuel loads while expanding opportunities for smaller operators. That's smart implementation, expanding opportunities in this regard, and it's practical stewardship. The partnership protects communities, it supports rural jobs, and it strengthens Montana's forest products industry, all while increasing the health and resiliency of our forests and our communities. It helps ensure a stable domestic timber supply, which is a priority under our active national management strategy, and that's been emphasized by both the President and the Secretary. It also does something deeper. It reflects a shared stewardship being done right. Montana is not waiting for direction. Montana is leading, and leading the country. DNRC is not advising, they're implementing. They're doing the work on the ground. We are sharing decision space, aligning 5-year plans of work and generating revenue that can be reinvested into restoration and staff capacity. Importantly, this agreement leverages the expanded authorities under the Explore Act. That means we can pair timber sale and restoration work with recreation infrastructure improvements. It means we can protect watersheds, reduce wildfire risk, sustain and improve access, and strengthen local economies, all under the same framework. Shared stewardship is not about more documents and signings. It's about resilient forests. It's about acres being treated. It's about delivering volume to the mills and protecting communities. It's reducing fuels. It's protecting these communities. And it's providing stability for rural families across Montana. The selection of these two priority landscapes signals something, that we are moving from collaboration to concentration, from concept to commitment, from planning to predictable delivery. Governor, thank you for your leadership, and it really is recognized nationally, and for inviting us here to celebrate this milestone. Montana is showing the country what a mature, long-term, good neighbor partnership can look like. If we're serious about protecting communities, if we're serious about restoring forest health, if we're serious about strengthening our rural communities and increasing American timber production, this is the model. Shared priorities, shared implementation, shared accountability, and shared results. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Director Kaster, what would you like to add, please?
Thank you, Governor, and thank you to Chief Schulz. Both of your shared vision and dedication here have made this historic agreement a reality today. At the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, we're proud of our longstanding partnership with the U.S. Forest Service. We view today as progress, not just in commitment, but in action. Through the Good Neighbor Authority, DNRC and the U.S. Forest Service have built strong, results-driven partnerships, delivering active forest management where it is needed most. In 2025 alone, DNRC supported the Forest Service in timber sales and forest restoration projects, covering more than 40,000 acres. That work reflects coordinated planning, shared priorities, and a commitment to delivering measurable, on-the-ground results that reduce wildfire risk, improve forest health, and support sustainable timber production. The Shared Stewardship Agreement builds on that very foundation. The designation of these two priority landscapes, over 400,000 acres across the Flathead, Kootenai, and Bitterroot National Forests, provides a clear roadmap to expand this work at a landscape scale. These areas were selected intentionally based on wildfire risk to nearby communities and infrastructure and readiness for implementation. In northwest Montana, on the Flathead National Forest, our teams are already advancing the Blacktail Powerline Project timber sale, the first initiative under this shared stewardship framework. This project will reduce hazardous fuels, protect critical power line infrastructure, and improve forest resilience in a high priority area. This is what shared stewardship looks like in practice and action. By aligning early with our federal and local partners, we can reduce duplication, streamline planning, and ensure that treatments are strategic and effective across ownership boundaries. Guided by the Montana Forest Action Plan, we will track progress publicly and hold ourselves accountable for results. Our teams are aligned, our partners are committed, and today's announcement formalizes the coordinated work that is already underway. Thank you, Governor and Chief Schulz, for your leadership and your investment in the health and resilience of Montana's forests. We look forward to continuing this work together.
Thank you, Director. Okay. Like Chief Schulz and Director Kaster said, this agreement strengthens our partnership with the Forest Service and builds on the success we've already achieved through cross-boundary collaboration. As fire season grows longer and more severe, proactive forest management is more important than ever. Today's designation sends a clear message. Montana is serious about protecting our communities and improving forest health. We're showing here in Montana, states are able and willing to partner with the Trump administration to protect our way of life. We're delivering and getting the work done. Chief Schulz, thanks again for your partnership. Together, we're making real progress for Montana. These maps here show the landscapes. You'll have a chance to come up and see them, but working together, we've identified 400,000 acres that are under this new expansion of our Shared Stewardship Agreement. And with that, we'd be happy to open it up for questions. Yes, Jonathan.
I think probably for Chief Schulz.
Okay.
Sir, what would you say, Jonathan A. Marion from the Montana Television Network, what would you say is going to be done differently in these locations, or how will it be done differently because this agreement was in place that wouldn't be possible if it wasn't in place?
Yeah, John, thanks for the question. I think the biggest focus that we're looking at is durability and long-term predictability. So previously under Good Neighbor Authority, which we've had a lot of positive gains, typically the way that process worked is the Forest Service would design projects and then this basically delegate them to the state to implement. What we see going forward is not just the Forest Service acting in isolation, but partnering with the state to get the work done. And in some cases, what we're going to see is the state's going to design some of these projects and not rely on the Forest Service for design. They could be helping get the NEPA done. They're going to be executing the work, but also designing the work and the long-term nature of this. So what we see that it provides predictability to the citizens, but also provides predictability to the infrastructure. So if you're a mill and you know that there's certainty out there, your ability to make investments long-term is significant. And we've seen what has happened with a lack of predictability and a lack of certainty. And if you supply your mill with these federal logs and that's not there, your ability to make investments is impaired. So we see this, the difference being with the state as a partner at the table in the forest. It's not just implementing projects that the Forest Service had designed, but the state is going to be designing projects, implementing projects, and providing certainty to the communities and the infrastructure that exists. Also, the logging contractors are key in this too.
So for these projects specifically, did the state have a bigger role in designing or planning, as you said?
So these projects we're talking about have yet to be designed. So these are the landscapes, right? So what you heard the director talk about, there's a first one that's been designed right now. But yes, the state will have a much greater role in the design and the implementation, not just the implementation side.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
And if I could just add to add a little color, the significance of this being a 20-year agreement is huge. That is going to allow certainty in log supply so we can keep our mills open. Think of this 400,000 acres as the initial sandbox in which we're going to design projects under this collaboration and stewardship agreement. Yes?
Yes, Jordan Hanson with the Daily Montana. I think this was for Chief Schulz.
Okay.
I feel like we've heard over the last 10, 15 years a lot of talk about at-scale, landscape-scale projects as like kind of almost an academic exercise, and I think this is something that firefighters and just again folks that study this talk about. Do you feel like this is finally being taken seriously as like we need these large, big projects to do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the analogy I will bring is before I came to this role, I've been in too many meetings talking about the crisis of forest health crisis and the landscapes. And the example I would bring in my personal life, if I had a crisis, the last thing I'm going to do is sit meeting after meeting after meeting talking about and analyzing it, right? So this is about action. And I'll give you an example. So Emily Platts, the forest supervisor, and Helena, Lewis, and Clark, they've gotten in front of the NEPA on this already. They've cleared 2.3 million acres. The entire forest is cleared for prescribed fire. And a lot of the fuels work that's going to be done. So this isn't just about talking about it. So now she can get out there with her crews And when a window opens for putting fire in the landscape or getting that fuels work done, they can move immediately. We have such tight windows on the Kaster Gallatin. We've got windows in Bozeman sometimes 2 weeks for burning during the entire season. So having all that work done in advance allows our crews to move immediately. The other piece I want to talk about that there has not been a like focus on has been on the timber side. We talk about, this timber target. I get a bunch of blowback. And what I'll tell you is that we have not implemented forest plans. So all of the forest plans we have around the country, it has goals for wildlife, it has goals for watershed, it has goals for fish passage, recreation. Forest management is just one of many goals in a forest plan. We have not implemented forest plans. And if we implement forest plans, if I said to anybody here, should we implement a forest plan? I bet you most people say, that's a great idea. It's had public involvement. We are woefully short of implementing forest plans. So we have a renewed commitment to implementing forest plans. And if we implement every forest plan around this country, we would go from selling about 3 billion board feet to about 7.5 billion board feet just if we implemented forest plans. So my direction to Region 1, to the forest in this area, implement your forest plan, right? And we will provide that consistency, we'll improve the health of the forest, we'll improve certainty for the mills, and we'll protect communities much better. So it's not just gonna be an academic exercise, trust me. It's about getting work done. And we focus every day on results. We have dashboards we look at every day. We have dialogue about operational capacity and how we get things done. And it is a constant focus. Yes.
Yeah, we have a question online. Tom, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
A question for Schulz first, and then a follow-up for the governor.
Okay.
So you mentioned the two landscapes and the over 400,000 acres. Do we have any idea between those two landscapes of breakdown and those acreage? I know it's preliminary, but is it just 200 each, or is there more complexity there? And do we have any idea what maybe the board footage out of these places might be?
Yeah, I think, and Amanda the director Kaster can talk specific, but I think it's similar in the landscape size. I don't think one is substantially larger than the other. Are they pretty similar? Yeah, they're pretty similar in size. In terms of board foot production, you're gonna see more in the northwestern part. There's the productivity of the forest in the northwest. I know in state lands in Montana, that's probably somewhere between 180, 200 board foot per acre that you see in those stands of growth per year. And in that southwest part in the Bitterroot, it's going to be a lot less. It's going to be 115 to 120. So you would expect with the production, it's different forest types. You have cooler, wetter sites in the northwest. You have drier pine sites in the southwest. So you're going to see just more productive forests. So that you're going to have a similar size landscape, but you would expect to have probably, I would guess, 70% of the volume will come up from the northwest, probably about 30% from the southwest.
Okay, Tom, you had a follow-on?
Yeah. Governor, do you expect these projects to get jammed up in litigation?
I think the state has had a really good record of managing our state lands. The team at DNRC has done a terrific job. We manage about 5 million acres. So taking on, in collaboration, responsibility for another 400,000 acres, we're gonna dot every I, cross every T, and get these projects on the landscape. I can't tell you what's going to happen related to litigation, but we make sure we're protecting the environment and do the work to improve the forest health, and ultimately it results in increased recreation. So, but people do what they do. So, yes, Jonathan, one final question. Yep.
Governor, you said that there would be 20 years of certainty through an agreement like this. Do you think that applies even if there are changes in administrations going forward?
Well, I am thrilled with the night and day change between the last administration and this one. That's why we're putting these 20-year agreements in place, so that we can continue the work without the uncertainty that comes from ups and downs in Washington, D.C. So I'm excited about this. I think the working relationship we have with the Forest Service at this point is really unprecedented, and we want to do the right thing by Montana and by the forest. So we're going to press ahead aggressively here under this new authority. Thank you, everybody, for being here.